I said yesterday I was going to try and do a walkabout and show all my herbs and stuff. They're coming up everywhere. I think I'll start right here. Right here, I have Echinacea Coneflower. I've got it 2 or 3 other places too, but this is the first place I planted it. This right here is mountain mint. This down here is peppermint. Now I planted the peppermint and I planted the echinacea, but the mountain mint was volunteer. It grows around here everywhere. Then over here I have, this is bee balm, or it's also called Oswego tea or whatever. And this is columbine, which isn't really an herb. It's just pretty. And then I have comfrey, and it's the Comfrey officinalis. In other words, it makes seeds, and it can become invasive, but it makes wonderful chop and drop. Then in here I have, I think it's called, I can't remember if it's, I need to look it up. I think it's Roman chamomile. It's perennial. It doesn't get real tall. It doesn't put on as big of flowers or as many. Well, I guess it puts on quite a few, but it doesn't get as big of flowers as the other kind, the annual kind. But it makes a really nice ground cover. This is the fluffy chickweed, which I have everywhere, and my chickens love it, so I usually pull it up and give it to them. This right here is evening primrose. I started from seed and planted it. And over here I have white horehound. This is its 2nd year. I started it from seed last year, and it's doing pretty good. Marshmallow, that I started this year from seed and set out earlier this week. And then I've got one right here, milk thistle. I've tried to grow milk thistle before, and I hear it's, easy, but I always have difficulty keeping it going and getting it to remake. If you look right there, right there is a bunch of that mountain mint everywhere. Okay, I also have hyssops. They're really good for colds and flus and teas. I have this elderberry. Now let me show you this. This elderberry right here. It was from a transplant. I dug up an elderberry along the road when I was picking elderberries back a couple years ago. Transplanted it here, and it doesn't like it here, or the transplant just doesn't do as well. Let me show you what happens when chickens plant your elderberries. My chicken yard used to be over here, and like 2 years ago, actually maybe closer to 3 years ago, I gathered back when I transplanted that elderberry bush. I picked a bunch of elderberries, made tinctures and syrups and stuff, and gave the scraps to these guys. But they were over here, and look what came up last year. This is the 2nd year that I've let this grow. It looks like a elderberry forest. Anyway, last year I got gobs of elderberries out of here, and then I also have another volunteer elderberry spot, and it just seems like if it comes up on its own, it does great, but when I try to transplant it, it doesn't do near as well. Oh, I guess I didn't pause it. Alright, well this right here is Yapon holly. And it's not exactly an herb, but if the poop hits the fan to the point that we can't get coffee, and right now it's really expensive, This will grow here perennially. I can't even say that. Anyway, and it is a caffeine source. You can use it, make it like a tea out of it, maybe even roast some chicory. Okay, rooster. Maybe make some, roast some roots from some chicory or some dandelion, and it gives you the coffee flavor, and then add the leaves of this to it, and you've got your coffee substitute. I've got my lavender. Now this one, I didn't trim it back enough last year, so a bunch of it died in there, so I really whacked it off a couple of weeks ago. But this lavender is planted in these concrete blocks, and I started it from seed about, well, when I first got down here, so they're about 3-4 years old, going on 4 years old, and they're doing really well. This right here isn't really an herb. It is nutritional and really good for you. It's called Violas, and they're really, really good edible. My grandkids love to pick the little blooms and just eat the blooms off of them. And once you plant them, you'll have them forever. I have not planted these, and this is the 3rd year, and I have not planted them except for the very first year. They come up everywhere. They even come up out in the grass. Looky here. Looky right there. I mean, they come up everywhere. Coming up in the grass. My garden thyme kind of took a beating over the winter. You can see a big bunch of it died off, but I've got some coming back, so that's good. And then I've got my chives. And all of these I planted from seed when I first got here. So, and then my big old sage bush. It's doing wonderfully. I trim them back in the fall, and then they come back out in the spring. Okay, this row right here, actually the first year, I kind of worked it up and planted a bunch of wildflowers in it. Some of them are perennial and keep coming back year after year. Some of them didn't. But I've got a few herbs in here too. I've got yarrow, which volunteered. I have, I'm not even sure what this is. I'm going to have to look that up, because if it's not something that I want, I need to get rid of it. Then this is, I think, Angelica. I started some from seed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Angelica. I started from seed and planted it here last year, and it came back, and I'm so thrilled. And what else is down through here? Oh, I have some more, right here, I have some more evening primrose. Some more hyssops. I had a big bunch of it, big old stand of it, and I broke it up into pieces and brought it over here. Then down through there, I have all kinds of fruit trees planted, kind of like my orchard, ultimately food forest kind of place. And here's some more white horehound that I planted last year. Some more of that chamomile underneath this plum tree. Some evening primrose and some more of that chamomile underneath this crabapple tree. This poor little wimpy cherry tree died off, but it came out from, I'm pretty sure it's above the graft, so it's a real cherry. I have some more of that chamomile, and I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to have to look it up. I think I planted it because I don't see it much of anywhere else around here, so hopefully that's something I planted. And then over here on this big cherry tree, I have some more comfrey. Underneath this wine sap apple, I've got comfrey, and I have some more of that right there, some more of that chamomile. And then this little apple tree actually sprouted off of that one, and I got it to root, and so I planted it over here, so we'll see what kind of apple it is. I have some more chamomile. I have a real problem with burrowing varmints. I don't know if they're rodents or if they're voles for sure. I haven't quite figured that out. But so this year I'm planting castor beans periodically on the ends of different of my rows. This right here is a volunteer, and I let it volunteer different places and even transplanted it some places. This is mullein. Mullein is wonderful stuff. It's good for all things respiratory, and you can make tea out of it, you can make tincture out of it. When it sends up the spike, it's a biennial, so the first year it'll do a little rosette, which this is its second year. It had this rosette last year. Second year, it'll send a spike up. And on that spike, there'll be little yellow flowers. If you take those little yellow flowers and soak them in oil, it'll make like an infused oil that you can use for earaches, or swimmer's ear or whatever. See, looky here. I mean, matter of fact, let me show you something. I came out here yesterday, and this poor little tomato plant right here, right there, it was laid over almost to the ground. Come to find out, whatever burrowing thing I have in this garden had burrowed underneath of it and took the roots loose, and it wasn't getting any contact. So I had to smash it down and water it real good, and it looks like it might be coming back. Here's another big patch of that chamomile. And I'm kind of watching it, because if it doesn't get too tall and it obviously spreads and is real thick kind of ground cover, I'm probably going to move this to places I want to kind of protect, or kind of suppress weeds. And here is a burgundy or dark red fennel. I started from seed. I've never grown fennel before. I have a couple more in the greenhouse I've still got to find spots for. But yeah, it's a new one. And then I've got celerac, that's new too. I haven't decided where to put it yet, but this is catnip. This is, I think, either marjoram or rosemary. I mean, marjoram or oregano, and I can't remember which. There's another fennel right there. This is calendula, or calendula, as they like to call it. And this guy right here, I don't understand. I finally got it to germinate. This is cumin. Surely they get bigger than this. Maybe I'm doing something wrong with it. I don't know. And this guy right here is a new little bitty caraway. I have tarragon right there starting. I started these little rosemary plants. And this is Roselle. It's a type of hibiscus that you can make a tea out of. It's an herbal tea that I'm hoping will do well. I planted it last year, but you have to start early because our seasons are too short, and they don't go to, make the little seed pods are what you use for the tea. And it just didn't make enough by fall to do much good. This right here is the other kind of chamomile, the annual kind. I'm starting it so I can harvest the flowers off of it. Oh yeah, and this is a basil plant I started earlier in the winter, and it's getting pretty big. I'm going to have to put it in the ground here pretty soon. This is a whole bunch of catnip and a little bit of marjoram, sweet marjoram, that I started from seed that I'm just not sure what I'm going to do with yet. And there's some more of that cumin. It's really, really wimpy. I mean, I don't get it at all. I'll have to kind of do some more research on that. And then a couple more fennels right here. And then this is caraway. All this stuff I started from seed. I mean, I just really like it. And this right here is Mother of Thyme. And I got the seeds from my daughter, started a bunch for her, and I kept one for myself. It's evidently a low-growing kind of a ground cover type of thyme, so I'm looking forward to that. This right here is Hamburg rooted parsley. I started it or actually I transplanted. I started from seed and then I transplanted it inside in the greenhouse for overwintering. So this is its second year. It's going to hopefully go to seed pretty soon. I can save the seed. But look at that root on this thing. I mean, and that's the part. You can use the tops like you would regular parsley, but you can slice up the root like a root vegetable and actually eat that, and it has kind of a parsley flavor to it. This right here I just transplanted out a couple days ago. This is chia. You know, you get chia seeds, chia. Anyway, I'm trying to see, I tried to grow it before in Indiana, and our season wasn't long enough for it to make seed. It got too cold, because it goes, I guess it makes seed according to the day length, so it's kind of the opposite of onions. When it goes through the summer, and the day length starts to shorten, when it gets to a certain length, then it'll put on the seeds. Well, the problem was in Indiana, the day length got to that point at the same time as the temperature dropped below freezing. So I didn't get any seeds out of it. So here I am in Tennessee, and I'm trying it again.